Dying Light 2 is a dinosaur of a game. It's big, old, and should have been wiped out years ago. Hello, my name is Jonathan Rosenblum, head game critic at Tibbs TV, and I'm actually excited to talk about this mid-tier shitfest that is Dying Light 2, because it's a rare example of the core gameplay loop being incredibly fun. The parkour feels great, kicking people off buildings never gets old, and being chased by night creatures feels scarier than driving a cheese truck through a bad neighborhood in Wisconsin. Plus, it looks great. My PC begs me not to play it. And yet, the devs have dropped the ball so hard when it comes to basic quest design and narrative. It feels horrible when compared against other great games like Breath of the Wild, but also compared to shit-tier games like Far Cry 6. The setting of the game had a lot of promise. The idea of a post-apocalyptic yet slightly medieval society lends itself perfect to a world filled with zombies. After all, the player plays as a pilgrim, you mainly use bows, and everyone seems to be dressed like Robin Hood. But then they dropped the ball with the quest design. Take the opening, for example. You're running through the forest towards the city, because literally every game cannot stop asking us to compare it to Zelda Breath of the Wild. But hey, I like Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's a great game, so copying it's fine as long as you do it right. Have the player run through the quiet woods, maybe give them a zombie to practice killing, maybe one quest marker and a little tip that says go towards the city. This would let players feel free to experiment with the game's systems, and the key word there being feel free. Wait, because a player does not feel free when they are forced down a set path, which is exactly what this game does, all the while dumping an entire lifetime's worth of backstory in the span of like 5 to 10 minutes. It feels almost identical to the first Dying Light, which is just sad because the forest looks great, the game feels good, why limit the player? And it's not even that the story itself is terrible. I mean, I love how the villagers first try to hang you instead of welcoming an outsider with open arms like they do in other cliche games. It's a great little scene that makes you like the character that saves you. That should be the start of the story. Instead, before the player even gets to the city, they'll spend their time having the controls ripped away from them every 5 minutes to introduce some side character you don't really give a shit about. Or they funnel you into a building to have a simple flashback. But I only care about characters that I can interact with, and the flashbacks lose impact when they feel so planned. You're not discovering anything. It's like getting Grubhub from a Michelin-starred restaurant. The content is there, but the delivery is absolutely terrible. Would a minimalist narrative been a copy of Zelda or Elden Ring? Yeah, but those are great games. They feel like you're making your own adventure rather than playing through the rails on a CW show. And you can do that in games. It would be fine for Dying Light if the gameplay loop was built for that. But all of the movement and combat systems focus around player choice and creating your own unique path from point A to point B, oftentimes in the most absurd way. So when you give the player these tools, but then force them down a set path, it feels like teaching someone every word in the dictionary, but only having them answer yes or no questions. It's just stupid. And unfortunately, the rest of the game feels just as dated. You complete a parkour challenge to unlock a tower that shows the region and activates nearby quests. Just like in Zelda, just like in Assassin's Creed, and just like in Far Cry. But hey, at least in those games, they realized they should let players climb the towers in any order. This game actually soft locks the player if they don't have enough stamina to complete the climb. Then there's the boring recipe-based crafting system, which is fine at best and tedious at worst. Looting takes far too long. Then cliche side quests, and then enemies that are more sponge than zombie. But all of that would be forgivable due to the amazing core gameplay loop if the overall design felt less like homework. And it's baffling because Dying Light and its DLC are gold standard when it comes to post-game support and taking design risks that expand on the original premise. Things like adding cars to a fucking parkour game. I just hope the team can do the same thing here. With the game standard here at Tibbs TV, I'm Jonathan Rosenblum.